Hi, Jackie here for A Little Magpie using 49 and Market One Perfect Day. Again, I'm using photographs that are not the professional ones, so friends have snapped these, and it's just as me and John are we've got married obviously, and getting back into the car to take us to the reception, and we had some champagne. So I have cut a circle out of one of the 12 by 12 plain papers for this collection, not pattern papers for this collection. And I've got my 3 by 4 photographs with a white border. And I'm just going to add one layer of pattern paper behind each photograph. I've chosen to use the same pattern paper for both photographs. So basically what I'm going to do is, as you can see, those two blocks of paper behind, I'm going to have those two as border strips. So I'm just going to trim these down, again, just leaving a thin border around the outside. And I don't distress any of these papers, which is surprising to me. This one is I use the reverse side of that pink circle paper, the remainder of the pink circle paper, and I've just add a border punch. I'll leave the link to the border punch in the description box below. Just gives a nice lace effect to the bottom of the paper strip. So after I've done that, I did cut it down to 10 inches because it was a 12-inch sheet, but then I've cut it down further. I think I've gone down to about 8.5, just to bring everything into the page and not make that strip too long. I'm cutting it to 10, and I do trim it down a bit further to 9.5, 10, or 10, something like that. So again, there's a lot of me positioning of photographs and papers before I stick them down. I don't know why I do that, but it's one of the things that I do quite a lot. And it's only when I'm looking back at my videos and editing the videos that I realise I do a lot of faffing of where the paper's going to go. So basically, this is how my layout is going to end up. So I've cut that large cream strip, I would say, down to size. And now I've decided that I want to use some of the lovely rub-ons with this collection. So that circle piece, it looks a bit bland at the right hand side there, so I decided to add a large rub-on to the background. And I've also positioned a strip of a rub-on down the left hand side, and you'll see in a minute how I do cover it over, but I get away with doing something else to justify that strip. So I've just, obviously, I'm not going to show you me rubbing those rub-offs all together. So just taking my time to make sure they're all in position. And it looks lovely. I look at, and it has got, you'll see close-ups towards the end, but it has got a balloon on. So I do add some extra balloon details to this layout. So here I am putting this strip of, I think it's just like word strips down the side, distress word features down the side, which I love. And then when I go to stick the circle down, I realise that I've covered off the stamped image up. The rub-on image up. Anyway, I've added some of the floral rub-ons to the background paper, as you can see, one on the right hand side and one at the top. And then I am just going to stick all these down now, and I will work round adding a bigger cluster down the left hand side on my sheet than as you can appear here. So I did, instead of using one of the pattern papers with all the florals, which I love, I've sort of added the florals myself to the background paper, and I do add some of the laser cut florals as well. I'm actually loving this collection, as I said, so please check it out. I'll leave a link in the description box below. It's a beautiful muted tones for any, well, not just wedding, but any celebration that you might have. So I'm just going to put these bottom two strips, I've just lightly glued them together, and I'm going to position up the bottom, and then my photographs are going to be there, and I don't want to cover over that large rub-on that I've done on the circle background. So this 3x4 vertical photograph I'm going to stick down flat, and the other one with me and John in the car, I've put foam pads behind. And then I found I want to do a pennant strip, a piece of paper, and I was going to do, so we had the pennant design at both ends, but I do turn it around, and I've just got the right hand side is flat then, and the left hand side has got the pennant on it. I just thought it worked better when I was looking at the overall layout. So to get these, so I've cut the piece down, in half, sorry, so it stretches across the page. Of course, the join is underneath the photograph, so it doesn't really nobody knows that it's not a full length of the strip. So I'm just going to have that down. And then I found on the rub-ons a little sentiment that says, enjoy the simple things. So I'm just going to add it underneath the 3x4 vertical photograph, as you can see. And then, what do I do then? Oh yeah, then I go through my, I find these washi tape strips. So I'm going to add a piece of the washi tape strip down the left hand side, so that will compensate for where I've covered over the rub-on. But you'll also notice in the end that this strip gets covered over as well. I get a bit carried away with my embellishments, but there you go. I know it's underneath there. So there it is down. And I've gone through my laser die cut sheets, and I found a wedding car. I had a vintage Rolls Royce, so even though there's a Rolls Royce on the die cut, but it's not a vintage one, but it was, just reminding me. So I've just put that there, and then I put some 3D foam just to give it a bit of definition on the page, and sort of slightly overlapped it onto my photograph. So that top photograph, we were stood in front of the car before we obviously got into it. And then here's where I've added some extra balloons. So I found some balloons on the laser cut paper, and I'm going to add some to the top, as you can see, and I'll put some on the right hand side, which I will add 3D foam to the back, again just to give him a bit of dimension to my page and a bit more texture. So I've got a group of 3, and then I've got a singular one that I just put at the top of these group of 3. You can see it on my page there at the top. So I'm just going to slot that in there. What did I do? Oh yes, and I found some more die cuts that I want to use. So I just add a little bit of wet glue just to the ribbon bits. So I didn't want them to, because they're very delicate, I didn't want them to be floating and snapping off. I had this die cut piece that says live, laugh, love, and I add that to the top. And I also find a camera on the laser cut paper, and I add some 3D foam to the back of that, and add that to the side of the live, laugh, love banner, and the word forever I've just added some wet glue behind and added the word over the top of the bottom photograph. Then I found again in the laser cut laser cut sheet should I say, a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. So I've added that into the middle of the layout, and I also find another 2 glasses which I add to the right hand side of the photograph. So I found a circle, die cut circle, so I've just cut that in half, and I've added half to the left hand side and half to the right hand side off to the right hand side photograph and off to the left hand side top photograph. So I put it here, and then I decide I don't want it there, so I do move it down and I add a little tag in that place. You'll see that in a minute. So I do move that down so it's underneath the car, in that it sort of fills the gap in underneath the car on the left hand side. So I'm just added those little champagne glasses, and that's the ticket that I replaced that circle with. I just put it there, but then I realised that I think I like it better up the top. And now you can, and then you'll see where you can still see that washi tape strip, but then I get a bit carried away with these laser cut elements, and it gets covered over. So here I'm just putting that camera up to the top at a slight angle. And then I am going to add some of these laser cuts. So they were quite big. I didn't want I wanted them on, but I didn't want the full width of them on. So I've ended up cutting them down. So I've cut it down and put one flat, and then the second piece I've just added some 3D foam to the side, to the top of it, just to give it some definition. So that's at the bottom, and then I do the same with another one, that one to the left hand side of that photograph, and that's where my washi tape strip gets covered over and you can't end up seeing it. So I end up putting the first piece down directly flat, and then the second piece again with 3D foam, just to give it some definition. And then I'm going through my rub-ons and find some butterflies. So I've just cut several butterflies out and add them around the page, scatter them around the page. Great for adding a bit of dimension and texture to your background paper. So I've added those around my page. I did originally just add 3, but then I realised there was more on the sheet, so I've just added a few more. I think I ended up having, I think I've got 5 on it now. Yes, I've got 5 on in various places. So here I am, where I'm just going to add some more. 2 to the left, 2 to the top, and then I've just one small one to the side of the bottom photograph. My workspace always gets smaller and smaller as I'm working. I need to bear it in mind that I need to get rid of products by the side of me. So I'm just looking here to see what else there is. So again, I'm just adding another butterfly. I found on one of the sheets. And I'm going to add that to the left-hand side. These are great rub-ons. Remember back in the day when you had to rub-ons and half of it used to peel off? So here's a few close-ups. So I found some arts as well in the die cut packs of adding there. I've had some sequins from my stash, as you can see. I'll show you the dimension of the balloons in a minute and the flowers. So it's not a great big dimension, but it's nice, a bit nice texture to it. The word underneath, enjoy the simple things, and the car. I love the car. And that's where I've put the circle to the bottom of the car and put the little tag ticket to the top. Again, more dimension. And that is my completed layout. Thank you very much for stopping by. Please like and subscribe to our channel. If you've got any questions, please leave them below. Please go and check out this great collection. I'll leave a link in the description box below. Thanks for stopping by. Till next time. Bye.